You listen to your friends, relatives, and neighbors bitch, whine, and complain. You listen to podcasts where the guys are bitching, whining, and complaining and pointing out everything that's wrong without giving you a solution. And instead of feeling empowered, you feel hopeless. You feel powerless. This is not helpful.
This is the Kevin Trudeau Show.
I am exposing the corruption in government and in major multinational corporations. We're telling you the things that they don't want you to know that will make your life better.
I listen to guys who had success. Ed Foreman, for example, he made hundreds of millions of dollars before he ever gave a speech on motivation. He was the real deal. I never gave a speech. Before I did Your Wish Is Your Command, I didn't do anything. I never gave a speech. It was until I did, billions of dollars in sales did I actually start teaching others how this works. So think about that. So I am going to give you today, in my opinion, the top 10 motivational speakers of all time. And look, they're all American, they all speak English because these are the guys I know. And they were all friends of mine. I am sure there are great motivational speakers and inspirational speakers who come from France and Germany and Japan and India and all types of countries around the world, Brazil and Argentina. And I'm sure there are people that are really excellent that have done something and they're teaching not just what they know about, but what they actually know. These are the ones that I've listened to. And not just me, but hundreds of my colleagues. We listened to these people. I knew them. I spent time with them. I've had dinner with them. Some of them have lived in my house for a while. So these are people that I know and are very, very good. So we're going to start with an old, and these are all old timers. Most of them, I think they're all almost, there's only two of them that are still alive. But you can find their material online. Most of it's for free. The first one, number 10, on the top 10 list of greatest motivational speakers of all time is a guy named Kevin Robert. Take a listen to Kevin Robert, then I'll tell you a little about him. Here's a little clip of Kevin Robert.
Thank you, Bill Gold. You know, everybody loves a beautiful introduction. Only one thing wrong about it, Bill, it helps the guy only up until the time he opens his mouth. Then he's on their own. I hope the good Lord in his infinite mercy will forgive us both. You for your exaggeration, me for being such a ham for loving it so. I always did like to hear other people read the introduction that I wrote about myself. But as long as his conscience was going to let him read it, I wish he'd read it all. I wanted you people to know a few of my small accomplishments. I at least wanted you to know that I'm ghostwriter for Ronald Reagan. I'm gag writer for Bob Hope. I'm romantic advisor for Elizabeth Taylor. I'm the only authentic executor of the will of Howard Hughes, and sometimes I'm the spiritual consultant for both the Pope and the Ecumenical Council. In addition to those friends, my friend, you're going to hear a very modest person.
Kevin Robert is the real deal. He said one thing that I talk about all the time. He says character is following through on a decision long after the excitement and emotion of the moment has passed. And he said if you have one trait, which is character, you'll succeed in every aspect of your life. Think about that definition. Kevin Robert, great speaker. Obviously, he has an accent. He's was a spiritual person, but motivational and inspirational. He used to be the past president of the National Speakers Association. All right, number 9, good friend of mine, and he is absolutely still alive. As a matter of fact, he's coming to our meetings here for the Global Information Network. I think he's coming to summer conference, or I think he's coming to family reunion, but he'll be speaking at some of our events. He spoke at our Global Information Network events years ago. Author, one of the greatest speakers, relationship expert, motivational expert. He worked with one of the most successful entrepreneurs in American history, Dexter Yeager, who was the top guy in the Amway business, co-wrote most of all of Dexter's books, counseled with Dexter, So not only did Ron achieve personal success, thus he talks from what he knows, not just knows about, but he's been around some of the wealthiest people in the world. I was with him with one of the biggest billionaire real estate developers in Beverly Hills. He says, Kevin, I'm in Beverly Hills. I'm going to be over at my buddy's house. You want to come over? And this is who he is with and the circles he's in because he's one of them. Take a listen to Ron Ball.
But here's what I want you to know. I realized after talking to all of my Amway contacts, after my years with Charles Stanley, and after my time with all these conventions, and then my experience interacting with Scott Rasmussen, who understands the pulse of the nation, and then my own daughter, who is in that age demographic, I realized something. And what I realized was this, and I want to really say this to you from my heart. I realized that we are in a crisis of greatness right now in this country. People don't know how to be great. They don't know the principles that created greatness. They don't know the principles that enlarge life. I mean, I talk to young men and young women right now, and they will tell me, yes, 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 I want to be great, but they don't know how. They don't know how. Well, the Bible teaches us how to be great through giving, through commitment, through service, through love. But there are other lessons that are just as practical that I want to connect to all that so you'll understand how to have a great life. If the United States of America needs anything right now, it needs greatness. It needs a rebirth of greatness, a renewal of greatness. It needs a revival of greatness.
Ron Ball is an outstanding speaker. And both Cavett Robert and Ron Ball and all the people that I'm recommending have excellent speaker skills. So not only listening to them, just the audios are inspirational and motivational. If you listen to what they say, there's technique that you can apply that can help your life. It will stimulate your thought, sometimes push your buttons, sometimes make you think, wait a minute, do I agree with that? And that'll stimulate your reason, which means it stimulates the brain and actually increases the size of the hippocampus so you can broadcast more because it improves and increases your power, your self-determinism when you listen to these guys. But there's another thing when you listen to these guys. Watch how they speak. They all have a different cadence, but they use sentences. They actually know how to speak. They actually start a sentence and end it with a full stop or a period. Depending on where in the world you are, you call it either a full stop or a period. Notice that they very rarely use the word or and. And also notice today's speakers, they start almost every sentence with the word so. And catch yourself, how many times do you say so? So, blah, 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 blah. These speakers know how to actually speak the language. So you can watch their so. See how I threw that in there? So, you can watch. We use the word so today. It wasn't used professionally. And actually, you will become a better speaker if you reduce the amount of times you use the word so, and ah. Think about it. Next, if you watch these speakers, you will notice their voice inflection. You will notice the way that they hold their body, their posture. You will also notice what's called hand gestures. And I'm doing this just so I can show you. Watch these guys. They're experts. And if you want to become a better speaker, watch, mimic, and model. All right, number 8. One of the teachers of my good friend Ed Foreman, one of my teachers as well, another Christian man, ran a church. He is called the father of positive thinking. He authored the book, The Power of Positive Thinking. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. Take a listen.
Now, when we talk about happiness, We're not talking about some Pollyanny sweetness and light deal. It's strange how some words can be destroyed or vitiated, like love, for example. That's one of the greatest words in the English language, but Hollywood has successfully messed it up. But love is the strong, vital, vigorous, tough word. And so is happiness.
Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, special guy, powerful speaker. You would not put him into the category of professional motivational speaker, but he is. He knows how to speak. His message is riveting because he knows intention behind the words he's using. Next on the list, number 7, one of my closest friends. He also passed away. We traveled together. We shared the platform together. We hugged each other all the time. We loved each other. A spectacular speaker with a great message and nothing but love, love, love in his heart. This fella's number one goal in life was to get you, people around the world, to read books. He loved books. He started a company called Executive Books because he was so passionate about getting people to read books because he knew. And he always said, 5 years from now, the person you will become is going to be based on the people that you have relationships with and the books you read. That's who you become, because you become what you think about most of the time. My good friend, take a listen, Charlie Tremendous Jones.
Who you live your life with, what you live it in, and then what do you live it in for? Fred Smith asked me that question. Well, all of us, about 31 of us, we had done $500 million worth of business that year. Fred Smith came and spoke, and he said, you're not ready to live your lives until you know what you want written on your tombstone. I thought, I'll need a big monument. No, he meant simply, what do you live your life for? And I thought about it. And you know what? There's only 2 things you can do with your life. You can live it for you, me, mine, I, or you can let God live it in you. Now you say, you heard a guy say, well, I give my all to God. Well, then he didn't get much in, did he? Come on here. You see, religion is when you give something to God. Conversion is when God gives something to you. Oh, glad a few Baptists are here tonight. Yeah, they're everywhere. You know, you can't keep them out sneaking on you. Maybe lose my place. No.
Charlie Tremendous Jones. Now you notice a lot of these guys, Cabot Robert mentioned God, Ron Ball mentioned God, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, he was a minister, he ran a church. Charlie Tremendous Jones mentioned God. Now they happen to be all white guys who are American, male, who are Christian. Like I said, there are plenty of speakers out there that are Muslim, that are Hindu, that are Jewish, that are atheists. But they all understand the spiritual nature of the world. Very special. Very, very special. Charlie Tremendous Jones, tremendous guy. The next guy, another white American Christian guy. Also passed away, very good friend of mine. Him and I were in a car with his wife Zanya and a guy named Al Carter. Al Carter wrote the book, The Miracle of Rebound Exercise. And we traveled around the south of America doing seminars. We would go in, Bob Harrington would do the motivational talk. Zanya would get up there and she would motivate everybody. I would go up there and talk about the mind and the brain. And then Al Carter would get up there with his rebounder, jump up and down and talk about the benefits of rebound exercise, a mini trampoline. Everyone loved it. Bob Harrington was a spectacular guy. He's called the chaplain of Bourbon Street because he was a preacher. On Bourbon Street in New Orleans, Louisiana, preaching to the winos, the drug addicts, the prostitutes, the destitute, the down and out. What a wonderful man. He said, I'm going to preach to the downtrodden, the ones who really, in his opinion, needed it the most. They didn't deserve it, but they needed it. And he went there, and he was beat up, and he was robbed, and he still loved all those people. This man has love in his heart. He's also a spectacular motivational speaker. You can learn a lot from him. You can be inspired and motivated, and also learn speaking skills. Take a listen to my late good friend, Bob Harrington.
You know, happiness is a wonderful thing. Everywhere I go, people are trying to find happiness. Down on Bourbon Street, I'm located right next to Pete Fountain, right down the street from Al Hurt, right down the street from where Louis Armstrong began his old trumpet music years ago. A little bit further down the street, Mahalia Jackson began her singing. Do you know nowadays if you're happy, people think you're strange? Did you know if you go around with a smile on your face, people point at you? Did you know that? You can walk down the street happy, and first thing you know, the policemen have you up against the wall checking your veins. They're checking your breath, because nowadays happiness, you just don't find too many people happy. Did you know I believe I'm the only fella on Bourbon Street can walk down the street with the Bible in my hand, the Lord in my heart, and a happy face, and people point at me. I believe Lady Godiva could ride down the street and nobody notice. Maybe some hippie will say, man, look at that horse. But that's about the only involvement. I know the other night I walked on this Delta jet, and I walked in and I said, hello, stewardess, how you doing? She said, you care for another drink? Because if you don't think happiness is a strange thing, tonight, men, just before you get ready to go to bed and before the wife turns off the light, just lay there in bed and smile.
There's more to that story. There's more to that story. Bob Harrington, Chapel of Bourbon Street. You listen to him, I don't know. Some people love him. I love him. I love them. Great guy. Next on the list, number 5, is the fellow that actually trained Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn. Now, Jim Rohn is a different type of speaker, spectacular. One thing that I always respected and admired so much about Jim was his ability to articulate and put sentences together so well. One sentence after the next sentence after the next sentence. Not run-on sentences. The sequence of his thoughts were brilliant. The storytelling was brilliant, engaging, brilliant, and the material, brilliant. Take a listen to the late, great Jim Rohn.
Here's the big challenge of life. You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. That's the challenge. And of course, the other side of the coin reads, unless you change how you are, you'll always have what you got. I have found in my experience that income does not far exceed personal development. Now, sometimes income takes a lucky jump, but sure enough, unless you grow out where it is, it'll usually come back where you are. Life has strange ways. If somebody hands you $1 million, best you become a millionaire quickly, so you get to keep the money. Otherwise, sure enough, it'll disappear. Somebody once said, if you took all the money in the world, divided it up equally among everybody, it would soon all be back in the same pockets. Incredible.
Jim Rohn. You could listen to him for hours. And when you listen to him, it's motivational and inspirational. Next on the list, another friend of mine, a late friend of mine. They're all passed away. All my friends were much older than me. They were my mentors and teachers and coaches. This is one of the beginning guys in the whole motivational, inspirational genre. He authored a program, actually it was a record, an LP back in the day, a vinyl LP, called The Strangest Secret. He had this amazing voice from radio, studied success, became successful, and then decided to teach the techniques that he had used to become successful with his business partner, Lloyd Conant, and they started a company called Nightingale Conant Corporation. This gentleman's name, the late great Earl Nightingale. Take a listen.
Successful people are not people without problems. They have, as a rule, just as many problems and largely the same kind as everyone else. The difference is that they learn to solve their problems. Successful living is nothing more than the ability to solve successfully the problems which are as much a part of living as breathing. The degree of our success will be determined by the extent to which we can solve our problems. So now that we've defined the problem, let me make this statement. If you can tell me what you want, I can tell you how to get it. The problem with the great majority of individuals is not with their ability to achieve their goals in life, but rather with the failure to understand two factors vital to successful living. The first is to make the decision as to what it is we want enough to give it most of our attention until it's been achieved, and to clearly define it. And the second is to fully understand that we have the ability to achieve this goal or we wouldn't want it in the first place.
Earl Nightingale. Powerful stuff, Earl Nightingale. You know, the great thing about all these speakers is when you become a member in the Global Information Network, the club that I founded, in our subject-specific area, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of audio recordings from almost all these people. And it's all free to members. The next speaker, my late, great, close, dear friend. I met him in 1979. We have been friends ever since. He's the real deal in every way. Beloved by everyone that he meets, was one of the founding speakers in the Global Information Network. When I founded that club, I called him up and said, we have an event in Cancun, Mexico. It's the first event. We just started as a club, so I can't pay you. Will you come down and speak? He goes, absolutely. Every single time I asked this man for anything, without hesitation, the answer was yes. And when he asked me for things, which wasn't very often, it was always a yes. We loved each other. He is one of the greatest motivational speakers of all time. Zig Ziglar and Judge Ziglar went through his training. He had made hundreds of millions of dollars in real business, concrete, real estate development, oil and gas, before he ever gave a motivational speech. He talks from knowing, not just knowing about. All of his recordings, most all of them, are available free of charge to Global Information Network members, and it's worth tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Take a listen, just a little listen, to the late, great Ed Foreman, my good friend.
Do you memorize the newspaper from cover to cover every morning when you first get up? All the murders, wars, and rapes that happened the night before? Or you read something a little bit more positive and uplifting, like a good self-help book? What do you listen to on the radio when you don't have to listen? Do you listen to the cheating and drinking and somebody done somebody wrong songs? I'm no good without you anyhow, baby. You know what you get when you play a country western music record backwards? You get your wife back, your dog back, your pickup back, and your mama don't get run over by a train. I heard one here a while back and says, I'm so miserable since you left, baby, it's almost like you were still here. Can you imagine how much positivity comes out of that kind of negativity? Now, I'm not putting on, or have you heard the one that says, it's hard to kiss the lips at night that chew your ass out all day long? Now, there might be some psychology in that. It's hard for employees to love an employer who's on their back all the time. It's hard for children to love and respect a parent who is complaining and griping and criticizing all day long.
And again, that's just a little tip of the iceberg. These guys, and again, they're all men here, and they're all white guys from, not all, but these are the guys that I knew back in the 60s and the 70s. There are plenty of women, there are plenty of Asians, there are plenty of people from all races and creeds and religious backgrounds all around the world that I am sure are outstanding. I just don't necessarily know them. These are the people that I knew, that I grew up with, and I'm sharing them with you. Ed Foreman is spectacular. All of them are. The one thing with these fellows and all the recordings, it is not a course where you are learning something and drilling it, mastering it to a certain extent before you go on to the next. That's what we do with the Success Mastery course in the Global Information Network. And that's what we definitely do in the Science of Personal Mastery course that you get for free in the Global Information Network. This is the supplemental material that is inspirational and motivational and basically keeps putting this information into your subconscious so it becomes part of your DNA and changes your vibration from the inside out. The next speaker, another close friend of mine. He's been to my house so many times. He has spoken at Global Information Network functions so many times. This man I love. I love all of these people. He is regarded as probably in the top 2 or 3 greatest motivational speakers of all time. His audio recordings are available free of charge to Global Information Network members. He has a great phrase. I remember him telling me in his speech, and the phrase is, "It ain't over until I win." And the way he says that, with the power and the intention behind it, your whole body just, you get goosebumps. And it changes you from the inside. Take a listen to one of the greatest motivational speakers of all time, another close dear friend of mine, my brother from another mother, Les Brown.
I like to ask whether or not you have goals, but I want to ask you another question. How many of you know that if you had your life to live over again, you could do more than what you've done thus far? Raise your hands, please. Now, that proves a point, that what we do and what we accomplish in life is only a tip of the iceberg of what's possible for us. So I want you to think about some goals that you'd like to achieve, and I'd like for you to, let's say, break them up in 3 categories. Number 1, I want you to think about some personal goal you'd like to achieve. And I'd like for you to think about some career goal, some business goal that you'd like to achieve. And I want you to think about some social contribution, some impact you'd like to make with your life. It was Horace Mann who said, "We should be ashamed to die until we've made some major contribution to humankind." I believe we live in the greatest country in the world that gives us an opportunity to leave our mark, to make a statement with our lives. And as you think about these goals, whatever those goals are, I want you to dramatically increase those goals. And I want to warn you, I don't want you to think about how you're going to do it. How is none of your business. The most important thing is just to increase those goals dramatically. I've found that most people fail in life, not because they aim too high and miss. Most people fail in life because they aim too low and hit.
Les Brown, tell you what, you listen to some of those recordings, when he starts getting cranked up, you'll get fired up. And that's important if you want to succeed in life. A guy told me years ago, when you're on fire, people will come from all around just to watch you burn. Les Brown. Last, I put him number 1. I think probably one of the best, most popular, most successful, most impactful motivational speakers of all time. He's been doing this since the early 70s. He's passed away. Him and I used to be on a bus together, and we traveled around the United States as part of a program called the Masters of Success, with several other speakers. Charlie Tremendous Jones was one of them, some other people as well. He's a master of speaking. He is a master storyteller. He's a master communicator. He's a master speaker. You can learn a lot, not just from his words and the material. You can learn how to speak from this guy just by watching and observing and being aware. Take a listen to the late Zig Ziglar.
I believe that success is getting a reasonable number of the things money will buy. Now, money's not everything, but it's reasonably close to oxygen. I mean, you know, you just kind of got to have some of it. Admiral Hacker, I've had money and I haven't had money. I'm here to tell you it is better to have it. Now, generally speaking the things I like cost money. See, I like to wear nice clothes. It costs money. I like to drive a nice car, live in a nice house. I like to take that beautiful red-headed wife of mine on trips and into nice restaurants that all cost money. I like to play golf at the country club. Costs money. I like those things. But I got to tell you, I love the things money won't buy. See, money will buy me a nice house, but it won't buy me a home. Money will buy me a companion, but it won't buy me a friend. Money will buy me a bed, but it won't buy me a good night's sleep. Money will buy me a good time, but it won't buy me peace of mind.
And that, what he just said, man, if you just pick that up, fantastic. Well, I just gave you what I think are probably the top 10 best motivational, inspirational speakers of all time. There's more. And somebody says, well, how come you don't have so-and-so on here? You know, there's one guy who's like the biggest guy in the world today as a motivator. How come you didn't have him on the list? I'll tell you why I didn't pick some of the people. I didn't pick people who talk about what they know about versus what they know. And if there's a guy out there, no matter how big he is, now how many books he's written, when he started and he never made a nickel in business, but he was teaching people how to become successful. It's not really what works. That's number one. Number two, there are so many speakers today, and I was in a room in Aspen, Colorado with one of the top motivational speakers in the country, been on TV and so forth and so on. And I was with a couple colleagues, and this guy was swearing from the stage. F, 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 F. He used the F word almost nonstop. I was disgusted. It was so much cursing, it was disgusting me. And then he'd have people come up and talk, and they would give a comment, and he would get mad at them because they weren't cussing, they weren't swearing, they weren't using profanity. And he would say, you need to let out your really feelings. F you, F, and he was swearing at them, cursing them. And then all of a sudden they started cursing back. And it was a profanity fest. And I'm thinking, I know what they're doing here. I've been in the Brotherhood. I know brainwashing. I know training. I know breaking down ethics. I know what's happening, and this is wrong. This is not impactful to people. It's, I don't want to say cultish, but so that's why there's some people on here that you might know that I don't have on there. And there's other people that just, the material they share is just so shallow. But I am sure that there are a lot of motivational speakers and inspirational talkers from all around the world who don't even speak English that are excellent and outstanding. Find the ones that you want. The point is, every day you should be listening to positive, motivational, inspirational audios. Every time you're driving, shut off the radio. Listen to positive, motivational talks first thing in the morning, right before you go to bed, when you're in the shower. Feed your mind with positive, inspirational material, and your life will change. We have hundreds and thousands, tens of thousands of hours of spectacular material in the subject-specific area of the Global Information Network members only website. You're a member, you get access to the secret vault of the training. So if you want to join, you should consider becoming a member and get all that information for free. Hi, I'm Kevin Trudeau. This is everything they don't want you to know about to improve the quality of your life. Broadcasting every Monday and Wednesday, 2 days a week now. Monday and Wednesday at 1 o'clock Chicago time. Make sure you tune in and subscribe to the channel and share these shows with everyone you know.